Imagine you just spent, I don't know, $30 on this premium, scientifically backed skincare mist.
Right, like maybe to heal an intense eczema flare-up or something.
Yeah, exactly. Or to cleanse a fresh cut. And you unscrew the cap, you spray it on, and you feel like you are doing your skin a massive favor.
Oh, totally.
But what you probably don't know is that a tiny, cheap metal spring hidden inside the nozzle of that exact bottle just, well, assassinated the active ingredient.
Yep, it's wild.
You are currently spraying incredibly expensive, entirely useless salt water onto your face. So welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and I'm here with our resident expert to unpack this.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, it is a really harsh reality of cosmetic chemistry, and today we are going to expose exactly how it happens.
This is fascinating stuff.
It really is.
Right.
We're looking at an ingredient called hypochlorous acid, which is commonly known as HOCl.
Right.
And to do this, we are grounding our entire conversation today in this brilliantly detailed article by Nikki Chase from Era Organics.
Oh yeah, it's titled Hypochlorous Acid Shelf Life. Does hypochlorous acid expire?
Exactly. And it basically pulls back the curtain on a product that is, quite frankly, fundamentally designed to self-destruct.
It really is. So if you've got a bottle of HOCl sitting in your gym bag or, on your bathroom counter right now, you really need to understand this ticking clock.
You really do.
Because this isn't like a standard moisturizer that just waits patiently in its tub for 3 years until you use it up. HOCl is a completely different beast.
Oh, completely.
But before we can figure out how to stop it from dying, we have to unpack what it actually is, right? And why it's so inherently unstable from the millisecond it's manufactured.
Yeah, so the label on your bottle will usually promise somewhere between 50 to 200 parts per million, or ppm.
Okay.
And they call that free available chlorine. That is the active antimicrobial agent you're paying for. But HOCl is fundamentally chemically unstable in water.
It just doesn't want to stay together.
Exactly. It is trapped in this constant struggle, basically wanting to degrade and break down into less active things like chloride and chlorate. And the primary battleground for this struggle is the liquid's pH.
Right. The article calls this the pH window, and it is incredibly narrow.
So narrow.
Like, HOCl only remains highly active and capable of actually killing microbes if the liquid stays between a pH of 4.5 and 6.5.
Which is mildly acidic, yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this. It sounds like HOCl is basically a superhero whose powers are entirely dependent on their suit.
I like that analogy.
Right, like if it stays in that specific 4.5 to 6.5 pH suit, it crushes microbes. But if it steps out of that zone, it completely loses its powers.
That's a great way to think about it. If the pH drifts upwards, specifically if it crosses that 7.5 threshold, the chemical equilibrium completely shifts.
And then what happens?
The HOCl converts into hypochlorite, and hypochlorite is a much weaker form of chlorine. It completely lacks the fast-acting, quick-kill capabilities that, you are paying for when you buy an HOCl mist.
Yeah. So it's not just a static liquid in a bottle. It's constantly balancing on a chemical tightrope.
Exactly.
If it stays perfectly centered on that tightrope in the 4.5 to 6.5 zone, it's great. But if a gust of wind or a slight pH shift pushes it too far to one side, it falls off the tightrope, shatters, and turns into useless hypochlorite.
Yep, it's gone.
But why is this molecule so fragile? I mean, why put something so incredibly unstable into a commercial product to begin with?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the instability is actually the entire point.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it is precisely what makes it such a remarkably effective oxidizer against microbes. In chemistry, an oxidizer is, well, it's a molecule that is absolutely desperate to steal electrons.
Okay.
So when you spray HOCl onto your skin, it violently tears into microbial cell walls to rip those electrons away, and that destroys the bacteria in seconds.
Oh, wow.
But that extreme reactivity is a double-edged sword. Because it is so eager to react, it doesn't just wait for bacteria to show up. It will react with almost anything, including itself.
Wait, it cannibalizes itself?
That is exactly what it does. In the background of that liquid, even when the bottle is just sitting completely undisturbed in a dark cabinet, these things called disproportionation reactions are constantly occurring.
Disproportionation reactions.
Yeah. Because the molecules are so reactive, they essentially steal electrons from one another. The HOCl naturally tears its own structure apart, converting into inactive chloride and chlorate right there in the water.
That's crazy.
The very nature that makes it a powerful pathogen killer is what makes it temporary.
So if it is already cannibalizing itself in a perfectly sealed, undisturbed environment, What happens when it meets the real world?
Oh, it gets much worse.
Right, we need to look at the environmental enemies that act as its kryptonite here, basically accelerating its demise. And the Era Organics article isolates three massive threats, right? Light, heat, and air.
Yep, the big three.
Let's start with light, because I've noticed a lot of these facial sprays come in clear plastic bottles.
Oh, I know. And those clear bottles are the absolute worst offenders for this chemical.
Oh, really?
Because of ultraviolet light. UV light causes a process called photolysis. When UV photons from direct sunlight, or honestly even strong indoor lighting, hit the liquid, they act like microscopic hammers.
Microscopic hammers. Okay.
Yeah, they provide the exact amount of activation energy needed to snap the fragile chemical bonds of the HOCl molecule. And that instantly reduces your parts per million of free available chlorine.
So leaving your bottle in the sun or on a bright windowsill is basically hitting the fast forward button on its destruction?
Exactly. You're just destroying the product.
Okay, so that's light. And then there is heat. The article mentions that higher temperatures accelerate those cannibalistic disproportionation reactions you just described.
Right. It basically comes down to kinetic energy. Heat makes molecules move faster.
Sure.
And when they move faster, they crash into each other much more frequently and with much more force.
Like a microscopic mosh pit?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you store this stuff in a hot car, like anything above 30 degrees Celsius, which is about 86 degrees Fahrenheit, the rate of those collisions skyrockets.
Wow.
A bottle that might have lasted for months can have its lifespan drop to a mere 7 to 21 days.
That is a massive drop. Okay, so we have UV light snapping the bonds and heat causing the molecules to smash each other to pieces.
Yeah.
But the third enemy, air, might actually be the most insidious just because of how we interact with the product.
Definitely.
When the liquid is exposed to air, carbon dioxide from the air dissolves into the water and forms carbonic acid, right?
Yes.
And according to the source, this creates a complex ionic shift that actually disrupts the delicate buffer and forces the pH to drift up, which ruins our perfect tightrope balance.
Exactly. It basically pulls the HOCl right out of that 4.5 to 6.5 superhero suit.
Right.
And beyond the carbon dioxide altering the pH, there's the physical escape of the gas. The dissolved active chlorine species literally evaporate into the empty space inside the bottle, the headspace, in a process known as off-gassing.
Okay, here's where I have to point out a massive irony, and things get really interesting.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Think about how we buy this stuff. We buy HOCl almost exclusively in pump spray bottles.
Yep.
But if air exposure and off-gassing are destroying the chemical, the very act of using a spray bottle seems like a fatal design flaw. I mean, is a spray bottle literally the worst possible container for this product?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have zeroed in on one of the biggest paradoxes in skincare packaging today.
It makes no sense.
It really doesn't. The fine mist sprayer is highly problematic for an unstable oxidizer. Just consider the atomization process.
Okay.
When you press the pump, it forces the liquid through a tiny nozzle, shattering it into thousands of microscopic droplets. That massively increases the surface area of the liquid as it travels through the air.
Oh, so it exposes more of it to the air all at once.
Right. And that causes a huge spike in off-gassing right as you are applying it to your skin.
But it gets worse mechanically, doesn't it? Because every time you press a pump down to expel liquid, the pump has to return to its starting position.
And to do that, it creates a vacuum. A vacuum that sucks ambient air back into the bottle to replace the volume of the liquid you just used.
Oh my gosh.
With every single spray, you are actively pumping fresh air loaded with oxygen and carbon dioxide directly into the solution.
So as you use the product, the empty headspace gets larger, you pump more air into that space, and you literally feed the HOCl its own kryptonite.
That is exactly what happens.
That is completely wild. The physical mechanism we use to dispense the product actively kills it.
Pretty much.
So if the environment is hostile and the bottle itself is hostile, how do manufacturers legally put this on store shelves with like a 12 or 24-month expiration date? What are they putting in the water to armor it?
So this is the formulation battleground. And the article makes a really crucial distinction here between fresh electrolyzed water and stabilized commercial products.
Okay, what's the difference?
To understand it, you have to look at how HOCl is traditionally made. You take water and salt and you run an electrical current through it. That creates fresh electrolyzed water.
Right. I know people actually buy those at-home countertop generators to do exactly this.
They do, but that fresh solution has absolutely no long-term stabilizers. It typically has a neutral pH, meaning it is teetering right on the edge of that tightrope we talked about.
Right, ready to fall off.
Exactly. It starts losing its active HOCl fraction almost immediately after you turn the machine off. That fresh stuff expires in just 7 to 30 days. It is incredibly fleeting.
So a company selling a commercial product in a store can't just use salt, water, and electricity. I mean, they'd have a warehouse full of expired water before the delivery trucks even arrived.
Exactly. So to get that long shelf life, they create stabilized commercial products. They use carefully controlled buffering chemistry.
Like what?
Basically, specific blends of compounds that hold the pH rigidly in that 4.5 to 6.5 range, acting like a safety harness for the molecule.
Oh, okay. Keeping it in the soup.
Right. They also meticulously control the ionic strengths of the water to slow down those disproportionation reactions. If that stabilized liquid is sealed in the right packaging and kept below 25 degrees Celsius, it can genuinely last 12 to 24 months.
Okay, but the phrase right packaging is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, isn't it?
It sure is.
Because the source material points out a fascinating divide between HOCl used for clinical wound care versus HOCl bottled for cosmetic skincare.
Yes, there's a huge difference.
Wound care formulations are subjected to incredibly strict medical controls. They use validated, completely opaque packaging to block every single photon of UV light, and they utilize sterile filling environments.
Skincare mists, on the other hand, often prioritize the sensory experience over chemical stability.
Right. They want it to feel nice.
Exactly. Brands know consumers want a luxurious, continuous fine mist, which requires complex aerosol or pump mechanisms that, as we said, increase air exchange.
And they want it to look pretty on a vanity.
Right, so they use semi-clear or tinted bottles. They are knowingly sacrificing post-opening lifespan for aesthetics.
Which brings us to the Trojan horse we talked about at the very beginning of the deep dive.
Yes, the spring.
Right. You think the opaque bottle is protecting the solution, but you can buy a stabilized formula in a thick bottle and still have your product assassinated from the inside out by the sprayer nozzle itself.
This is where the chemistry gets brilliantly granular. Love this part.
Let's hear it.
So the springs and valves, hidden inside a standard cosmetic pump sprayer, are usually made from inexpensive metal alloys, things like iron, copper, or nickel.
Okay.
And HOCl is highly corrosive to those metals.
Wait, so the acid eats the spring, the pump breaks, and you just can't spray it anymore? Is that the issue?
Actually, it goes much deeper than just a broken pump. As the HOCl lightly corrodes that spring, microscopic metal ions leach out into the liquid. And those trace metal ions act as catalysts. In chemistry, a catalyst is like a deadly matchmaker. It speeds up a chemical reaction, in this case the breakdown of HOCl, without being consumed itself.
Oh, no.
Yeah, a single microscopic iron ion will grab an HOCl molecule, force it to break apart, release it, and then instantly grab another one. It does this thousands of times a second.
Oh, my goodness. Meaning a microscopic flaw in the packaging choice triggers a chemical cascade that rapidly deletes the active free chlorine in the entire bottle.
Exactly. And it isn't even restricted to trace metals. Even an organic load introduces the exact same catastrophic reaction.
What do you mean by organic load?
Well, if you accidentally touch the sprayer nozzle directly to an eczema patch and leave a microscopic smear of skin oil, or, honestly, if everyday household dust just settles on the opening of the nozzle.
The HOCl attacks it.
Yes. It views that dust or oil as a pathogen. It consumes its active power, oxidizing a literal speck of dust before it ever leaves the bottle.
Wow. I am currently picturing my expensive bottle rotting from the inside out thanks to a cheap spring and a tiny piece of dust.
It's a sad image, but a very real one.
So if this chemical ecosystem is really that fragile, how do I actually know if the spray sitting on my bathroom counter right now is already dead? I mean, we need a consumer survival guide here.
We do. And thankfully, detecting expiration doesn't require a chemistry lab. Your first tool is simply your sense of smell.
Wait, what am I smelling for?
A fresh, active bottle of HOCl should have a very faint, mild pool water scent.
Like an indoor pool.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be overpowering like straight bleach. Just a clean, mild chlorine smell. If the product has expired, that scent vanishes entirely. It will just smell flat, or occasionally it takes on a slightly metallic odor.
That makes sense. The Air Organics article also mentions visual red flags, right? Like if the liquid develops a pale yellow tint, that means the chemical equilibrium has collapsed. Now, the article notes that industry labs test this using complex DPD colorimetric methods. For anyone unfamiliar, DPD is a chemical reagent. When you drop it into the liquid, it turns the water pink if free chlorine is present, and the darker the pink, the stronger the solution. But obviously, everyday consumers aren't going to buy liquid chemical reagents for their bathroom.
No, and you really don't have to. You can just buy a cheap pack of free chlorine test strips, like the kind people use for testing pools or sanitizing solutions in restaurants.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah, you just spray the HOCl directly onto the little pad on the strip.
Mm.
You are looking for a reading that confirms 50 to 200 ppm.
And if it doesn't?
Well, if the color indicates the ppm is dropped to near 0, the product is completely dead.
Okay, so what if my test strip reads 0, but I've been spraying it on my face for a week? Am I in danger? Like, is degraded HOCl toxic?
The toxicity risk is virtually non-existent for intact skin.
Okay, good.
Yeah, when HOCl degrades, it mostly just reverts into diluted saline, basically salt water. It won't burn your skin or cause a chemical reaction. However, it's entirely useless. If you are relying on it to treat severe acne, soothe eczema, or sanitize a wound, you are getting absolutely zero antimicrobial benefit. But there is a secondary danger that catches a lot of people off guard.
Which is what?
It loses its preservative power.
Wait, explain that.
Consider this. In a fresh bottle, the HOCl is the preservative. Its hostile pathogen-killing nature is what keeps the liquid inside the bottle sterile.
Ah, I see.
Once that active chlorine degrades into simple salt water, the solution is utterly defenseless. Bacteria, mold, and microbes can now easily enter through the nozzle, feed on that settled organic dust we talked about, and actually start growing inside the bottle.
Okay, spraying a moldy nozzle onto an open wound is genuinely horrifying.
It really is.
So since this stuff is so precious and clearly degrades so fast, I know people try to make their bottles last longer by diluting them.
Boy.
Like if I have a really strong 200 ppm bottle, can't I just pour half of it into a new container and mix it with tap water to get 2 bottles of 100 ppm?
The article provides a very, very firm warning on this. Do not dilute it.
Not at all.
Not at all. First, a 1-to-1 dilution instantly pushes the concentration dangerously close to the ineffective range. But the real issue is the tap water itself.
Because of the impurities.
Exactly. Municipal tap water is packed with trace metals, iron, copper, calcium, and organic impurities. So by adding it, you are actively pouring the exact catalyst that destroy HOCl directly into your bottle.
Oh, so you're just throwing matches into the powder keg?
Yep. A diluted batch will completely consume itself and become useless in just 24 to 72 hours.
Well then, if tap water destroys it, and the air destroys it, and the pump destroys it, how are we actually supposed to keep this alive at home? Are there any functional storage hacks?
The single most powerful tool you have is your refrigerator.
Wait, so we're putting our skincare next to the mustard?
Hey, it's the best place for it. Keeping the liquid cold around 4 degrees Celsius takes advantage of something chemists call Arrhenius behavior.
Right, we talked earlier about heat giving molecules kinetic energy to crash into each other.
Exactly. Refrigeration does the exact opposite. It slows the molecules down. It calms the microscopic mosh pit.
I love that.
The collisions have significantly less energy, which dramatically slows down those disproportionation reactions.
It also keeps it in total darkness, which solves our UV photolysis problem from earlier.
Exactly. Plus, colder temperatures actually increase the solubility of gases, which reduces the off-gassing of the chlorine into the headspace of the bottle.
Oh, that's clever.
According to the data, taking an open bottle of HOCl and keeping it in the fridge can extend its functional active life from a standard 60 days up to 180 days.
Wow, okay, so keep it cold and dark. But I want to address something else. A massive internet myth I've seen making the rounds on social media.
Oh, what is it?
So people are doing the test strip, seeing that their expensive spray has degraded into plain salt water, and they are claiming they can recharge or restabilize it. Yeah. I've seen videos suggesting you can add a pinch of salt or a drop of household bleach to the bottle to wake the chlorine back up. Does that actually work, or is that a recipe for disaster?
This raises such an important question, but that is an absolute recipe for disaster, and it needs to be shut down immediately.
Okay, tell us why.
Once HOCl has degraded into chloride salts and oxidized byproducts, the chemical conversion is a one-way street.
Yeah.
You cannot reverse it without specialized electrochemical regeneration equipment.
So no DIY chemistry.
Exactly. Adding salt does absolutely nothing, and adding household bleach is incredibly dangerous.
Because bleach isn't the same type of chlorine, right?
Not at all. Bleach is sodium hypochlorite, and it is chemically designed to operate at a highly alkaline pH, usually around 11 to 13.
And HOCl needs to be acidic.
Exactly. If you take an alkaline chemical like bleach and pour it into a mildly acidic HOCl solution, you are not restabilizing anything. You are fundamentally destroying whatever buffering agents were left in the bottle, creating a highly irritating, caustic liquid that will genuinely damage your skin. Worse, mixing bleach with acids risks generating toxic chlorine gas. If your test strip reads 0, the product is done. You throw the bottle away. There is no DIY kitchen chemistry revival.
I think that's a perfect place to recap what we've unpacked today. Hypochlorous acid is an undeniably powerful, scientifically proven antimicrobial tool.
It absolutely is.
But it is a chemical tightrope walker. Its effectiveness is entirely dictated by its fragile 4.5 to 6.5 pH window.
And to actually get the benefits you paid for, you have to be vigilant about its environment. You have to actively manage its exposure to light, heat, and the air pumped in by its own sprayer.
Right.
And most importantly, you have to adjust your expectations. Realistically, an opened bottle of cosmetic HOCl mist kept on a bright, warm bathroom counter is only going to remain optimally effective for about 60 days.
So grab a cheap pack of free chlorine test strips to verify what you're actually spraying on your skin. Trust your nose to look for that faint pool water scent.
Yep.
And definitely clear out a little space in your refrigerator door to keep your daily spray cool, dark, and actually active.
Respecting the chemistry of the product is the only way to ensure you are getting an effective treatment instead of just a really pricey placebo.
Well said. And it leaves us with a much bigger thread to pull on, honestly.
Oh.
We've seen today how something as seemingly trivial as a cheap metal spring hidden inside a spray nozzle or a pretty clear plastic bottle on a sunny vanity can completely sabotage a complex, scientifically proven ingredient.
Yeah, it's pretty sobering.
It makes you wonder how many other incredibly expensive active ingredients in our daily cosmetics, our serums, or even our medicines are secretly degrading right on our bathroom counters, entirely defeated by the very bottles they are sold in.
It definitely changes how you look at a luxury glass bottle sitting in the sunlight.
A literal ticking clock.
Oh.
Well, that is it for our deep dive today. Keep questioning what's in your cabinet, and we'll catch you on the next one.